Today we're going to learn how to stitch a photograph together, and we're also going to learn how to expand the canvas of a photograph. So I have 4 photographs here, and I took them individually. I was standing on a rock in Yosemite, and near Young Lake, I believe. This is called Young Lake. And I took 4 consecutive photographs together, and now we're going to stitch them together in Photoshop. And this is a great review of using masks and to blend together photographs, and we're also going to expand the canvas to make room to make it a panorama photograph. So if you take a look right here, this is kind of the finished product, although you'll be adding one more photo to the end of this right here. But if you just take a look at, there's some photographs and we stitched them together. We expanded the canvas to make it a little bit longer to the right, and we also added some photographs and blended using the mask. So this exercise really gets your masking skills down, and also expanding the canvas, which is a useful feature as well. So let's go ahead. I'm going to exit out of that and not save it and open that back up. Pano 5. And so now these are the photographs that we're working with. We're working with Pano 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with Pano 5. It's kind of backwards, but we're going to start with 5 and add Pano 4 here, and add Pano 5 to the right, or Pano 3 to the right, and then Pano 2 all the way at the end. So the first thing we need to do is we need to expand the canvas to add these photographs. So if you go to Image and go to Canvas Size, you have this dialog box that pops up, and what we want to do is we want to adjust the width of it. We don't care about the height, we want to adjust the width. Right now it's 3.3 inches. If we're going to add 3 more images together, we'll probably want to multiply that by 3. So let's do about 12 inches. And if we have room left over, we can always crop it out. If we need more room, we can always expand the canvas further. If I click OK right now, it expands the canvas on either side. So what you're going to do is, when you expand the canvas, I'm going to do 12 inches, and we want to push it. So we want to click the anchor point. We want to click the anchor point left so that it opens up room on the right-hand side to add the canvas. It's kind of counterintuitive. So if you want to add canvas to the right-hand side, you click on the left arrow to open up room on the right. So do that, click OK. Now we have, you can see that we have an open canvas to add the photographs. And so what we're going to do is, with Pano 4, we're going to drop it, drag it out, click the Move tool. We are going to drag it in. And once we drag it in, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And you can see I'm going to rename this layer Pano 4. This is Pano 4. And what we need to do is we need to line it up. So to do that, instead of just trying to kind of guess, and it's not going to match exactly, but it should be close, okay? And so I'm going to change my opacity. I'm going to go to my layers palette right here, and I'm going to change the opacity just temporarily, maybe around 50%, so that I can kind of see where the overlap is, and I can use my arrow keys to adjust it like so. And I'm really just gonna focus on this ridge right here, this part of the ridge right here, and I'm gonna line that up. And after I do that, I can go back to opacity and make it 100%. That's okay. If you have white here, we can crop it out at the end. Now what we need to do is we need to blend this line. Right, this line is where you can see where the 2 photographs overlap, and we want to blend this together so that you don't see this line. So what I'd recommend is clicking on the mask tool, and we know that black burns through, so we're going to choose black, go to the paintbrush, and we want a soft edge, okay? And then we want probably a bigger size. If you start trying to blend it with like a small brush like this, it's gonna take a while. You can see that it's gonna take a while. So what we're gonna do is we're going to, let me go back to there we go. So what we're going to do, instead of using a small brush, we're going to use a bigger brush, and you can always kind of taper down if need be. So let's say maybe around 375 or so, and change the opacity to about 10%. And you're just going to click around, click, 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 and maybe wave back and forth. And it takes time, but eventually it'll burn through. Click, and I'm kind of going in different strokes or different directions. And now you can see that there's some ghosting right here. So I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller and focus on just getting that out. So I'm going to burn this, and maybe I'll cover that part up right here. I'm going to zoom in, and maybe I'll switch to white and cover that up, that little ghosting area. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I can adjust the hardness, and to really just kind of cover that back up with the sky. So now I'm covering that back up with the sky, right? So now if I zoom out, you can see that I've blended this together. If you make a mistake, you can always delete this mask by right-clicking or hold down Control and click, and you can delete the layer mask and add another one and try it again. That is okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just zoom in, go back to black, and I'm still at 9%. I want to change it back to 0, and I'm just going to I know that this is the line area right here, so I'm going to just kind of click, and I'm going to look, there's a line right there, so I'm going to click, maybe I'll increase this to about 16%, and I'm just going to click and try to get rid of the line. So I'm going to go down this seam right here, click, and just kind of blend it. You can see there's a definitive line right here. There's water, and then there's this line. So we need to kind of get rid of that, like so. Kind of blend that in a little. And there's a line right here. We need to get rid of that. So maybe make this a little bit bigger and kind of blend that in, blend this in just a little bit. Okay, so now when I zoom out, you can see that I've blended it together like so, and that's great. And I'm going to move over. I'm going to click pano 3, drag this out, click on my move tool, or hit V, which is a shortcut command. Once you get comfortable with Photoshop, the shortcut commands will help speed up your edits. So we're going to line this up again. And remember, change the opacity, right? Change the opacity so that you can line it up. Don't worry about the top right here, but more so I'm looking right here, and I'm just going to line that up and change the opacity back. And this is pano 3, and now I'm going to add a mask. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in. I'll work on this section right here. Black burns through, make it a little bit bigger, and there we go. Maybe go back and forth a little bit. If I go too far, look what happens. Right? That's a big no-no. It means you're masking too far out and it's not overlap. It doesn't have enough overlap to it, so that's a big no-no. You can't just mask out the whole thing. So I'm going to go back to white, and I'm going to cover that up. Maybe go back to 100 and cover this part up because we don't want to do that. And I'm going to go back, go to black, change the opacity, and now I'm going to continue to work down that line. You can see that's starting to ghost a little bit, and that is not looking good, so I'm going to go back and change that, and I'll just focus on this part right here. I'm going to, let's change that. I'm going to zoom in, make it kind of hard, and maybe I'll just add another ridge like that. like so. And now I can zoom out, and now I'm going to zoom back in, and I'm just going to go down that seam again. You can see the seam of the two photographs. So I'm going to go back to my paintbrush. This is a very repetitive process, but it's good. It's a great exercise to get used to masking, layering. You might need to change up the brush size a little bit from time to time. Right here, you can see that I got to blend the water, and I'll probably narrow down again and change the hardness and just kind of go around this edge right here, like so. And now when I zoom out, right, you can see that the blending has begun. And what I want you to do after this is go back and add pano 3 or pano 2 to it. Pano 2 is going to be very difficult because the exposure is a little different since the lighting was, you know, at a different point depending on where the sun was. So the lighting is a little bit different on this one. It's a little bit lighter since I use the same exposure for the four photographs. So it's going to be a little bit tougher, take some time. You'll really have to change up the size and the opacity of the brush when trying to blend it. And then when you are done, what you're going to do is you're going to crop it, and you're going to click on the crop tool, and you can crop it like this, but look at the horizon, or the photograph, how it's slanting up. If we want to rotate this down so that it's, you know, it's straight. Right now it looks like you're tilting the camera. So we're going to I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. I'm going to, and when you rotate it, you got to bring in your crop a little bit to give you some space. And now what you're going to do is, with the crop tool, you're going to put your cursor to the outside and you're going to rotate it down. And it's nice that you have this grid that kind of, you want these lines to be parallel with the, you know, with the horizon line right here. So that's about good. That's about it right there. And then you're going to hit enter, and now you can see there's some whites. I cropped too much, so I'm going to just pull that up just a little bit. There we go. And now we have a stitched together panorama photograph that we created. You're going to create it out of 4. I just did 3 just for the sake of time. And there we go.